You're going to need a roll of deodorant because after you get done with this video, you will be considered a sweat lord. My name's Coyote. Let's get to it.
Stupid Coyote.
Big shout out to everybody who has watched my last video on GDKPs. Huge. I didn't expect it to get that big. If you haven't seen it, check it out above. Today, we're going to be talking about using Warcraft logs to help you get better. Now, this is a multi-step process. When you play a game, you essentially are trying to compete. That's what games are. Now, how you want to play this game is going to vary. But hey, trust me, if you try to get better at this game, it's going to take you even further. And it's actually a lot of fun to kind of look through some of these. I actually have spent a lot of time, especially when I was mythic rating in retail, trying to get better at the game, and Warcraft logs is where it's at. But it's a little bit of a setup to get there. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Arguably, one of the best tools at getting better in World of Warcraft is Warcraft logs. You can compare yourself with other people playing your class and spec. Now, to get it, it's a little bit more of a setup. I recommend starting from the basics. Let's go ahead and download it. You come to warcraftlogs.com, head down to download client. I recommend the Warcraft Logs companion app, all right? Because whenever you load up the game, it's going to load up the correct one for you. And it's pretty simple too. Once you've downloaded the app, we really have to work in on getting it all set up. You'll have to create a Warcraft Logs account. Now, if you actually load this up in retail version, it'll be retail, or if you use classic, it's really good about detecting what game you're playing. For the instance of this, we're going to be using vanilla. Now, here's the issue. There is, like I said, a little bit of a setup to trying to get this rolling, and I had a dummy issue that I'm going to help you fix right now. One of the major mishaps that happens to a lot of players is they choose the wrong folder to pull their logs from. I'm going to make it simple so you're not like some stupid coyote who spent a couple weeks trying to figure out why he was having issues. So you're going to come to this choose button. Now, it's already known where to go, but it should pop up a window that looks like this, or it may be further back. You're going to want to find your World of Warcraft folder. Now, depending upon if you're playing vanilla retail, you're going to have to select the right version of World of Warcraft. For Season of Discovery, you're going to do Classic Era. Now you're going to come down, double click on the logs, and that's as far as you want to go. You're going to select that folder. Like I said, if you don't select the right folder and you start logging and wondering why you don't have those logs, well, that's probably the first place I would check. Now that you're in game, you got some options that you have to go to. So the best way to do this is hit options, and you can come down to network, and you want to make sure advanced combat logging is involved. Now, I recommend, there is an add-on, highly recommend this add-on that'll help you, because whenever you're in the game, you have to type /combat log, and now it'll actually enable this. Now, this is more of a feature in Classic. Some add-ons automatically do this, such as Details and other ones. The one that I highly recommend if you're interested in logging your performance is Loggerhead Lite. You can set it up to where every time you enter instances, it automatically starts logging, taking that headache out of like, oh snaps, I forgot to log, out of the situation. Then when you're ready to go into your raid, whether it's in retail, Wrath Classic, or Season of Discovery, just come over here. You don't have to enter a name for it. Sometimes I throw out goofy names. Sometimes I just draw out the character that I'm playing so I can go back in and look at that specific log, and you hit go. And it's going to start logging everything that you've done. There's more to this app, but that's just getting way too deep in the weeds. Today, you're here to learn about logging and how it's going to be able to help you. So, of course, you know I play Mage, and I use the Mage Wowhead form for a lot of information. I also check the class Discord from time. Here's where you're going to learn the basics of your rotation, all right? So, essentially, Arcane Blast to 4 stacks, Living Flame on cooldown, and an Arcane Blast 2 to 3 or 4 times, and then Arcane Missiles. Okay, you're like, okay, I see that. I should understand that. That's pretty simple. Arcane Mage, really simple rotation for a simple goober like me. But how does this work with Warcraft logs? Well, I'm going to show you. I've explained in the past that you can use these Warcraft logs to figure out everything. I always try to find more of a patchwork boss, which is a single target boss with light movement. So we'll just use Akumai. Very good boss for patchwork. I'm going to come over here, all classes. There's actually a mage right there. It's Taiwanese, though. So you're going to come down and search for your class. So like I said, we're going to use mage. So mage, arcane, boop. And this is going to show me the best players for all of these. All right. If you're using a European one, you got to be careful just because many countries in Europe have different languages. So it may be there. So I'll just scroll down until I find a US. Push pink Z's. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. And the first way is if you're trying to see what the best player does, you come here to all sources. You're going, oops, sorry, not all sources. There's a couple of ways you can actually compare logs to see what you're doing versus what they're doing. But for the instance of this, I just want to see what they're doing using the basic rotation. So I come to all sources, click the name of the character that I want, in this case, Pushkin Pins. Then I come over to timelines. Boop. And this right here shows the damage done in the timeline. So I can see that they were doing Arcane Blast, 2 Arcane Blast, and Living Flame right there. And that's actually the damage coming from from Living Flame. So they precast Living Flame. A breakdown of logs can be a little bit complicated. I am no expert on this. I am just here to say, hey, this is what works for me. But this shows you the timeline that they were casting. Some heavy dynamite, tells you what they casted, and I use this. Now, here's where you come into play. Up here at the top is this compare log. So you can come in here and you can compare reports to compare with URL, or you can bookmark this one. So we're going to use one of my old reports. Your most recent reports will always appear under your account name up here. So you come up here to Blank Fathom Deeps. I'm just going to copy this one because my last run I did was on my mage. So we're going to come back here. I can compare reports with URL. This pops up, paste it, and of course there's an error. Sometimes that happens. There's other ways of doing it. I'm going to show you my preferred way of doing it here in a second. You can also compare with people within the raid. So if there's two hunters, you can compare them together. So we can compare Hijax to Tupi, compare, and this will break down everything. Their armor, their what they were casting, everything. And you can also check the timelines. The way I prefer to do my runs, let's go to my log. We're going to come to Blank Fathom Deeps. We're going to come down to all, let's not do rankings. Let's come down to, this was not a very good raid for me, I'll be honest. So we're going to come over to compare, and I'm going to select a player, Coyote Magic. Go from Coyote Magic. Limit the search for the lengths of the fight within 10 seconds. A lot of your faster kills are where your higher parses usually come from. You're doing the highest amount of damage at the beginning. The longer it out, the average gets bigger. So I always try to keep it in there. Limit the raid size difference of more than 2 players. This really accounts more for retail because you have flex rating. Limit to the searches within 2 item levels of selected players. Yet again, kind of really more for the retail side. And limit the searches of parse that occurred within the last 28 days. I usually have that stipulation for sure set because as gear as the end of the Season of Discovery Season 1 has come through, we're starting to get better geared players. Select metric default. You can select any of these damage, healing, survivability. So we're going to do this. Search. And this is going to be bad. This was not a very good run for me. I've actually done 2 raids, and I didn't realize that I've been running the regen rune because I was helping people out. And so, yeah, I'm a dummy. And you can look through here and see people. Now, the best way to look through this is to kind of come through here and find people that have the highest % match chance with you and compare with them, because that means that you guys are playing on an even level. So I always try to come up here through the top, through the 20, Wild Growth, somebody on my server, let's say 66. I think that's the highest. So we're going to click Pale Horse from Redacted. I've raided with one of these guys before. I don't know if this guy. And now I get to look at what they're doing versus what I am. And there's so much information here that you can get lost into. And that's actually the fun of Warcraft logs, is being able to get lost in all this information. So you have Arcane, how many Arcane Blasts? Now I cast 32, he cast 31. Arcane Explosion, this is all for Akumai too. He cast 13, I only cast 8. So he got more AoE blast off. Living Flame, I was able to cast it 3 times, saying that it could have been a longer fight. We both had the same amount of arcane missiles. He ran out of mana and resorted to shooting his wand, and I had evoc up, so I was able to do that. You can see all of this by going to the cast and going back to timelines, and it'll show you the difference. And now this is a great way for you to compare what you've done with better players. This is right here is how you kind of edge your way up to doing better. No one wants to be the bottom of the list forever. I understand, but it takes a little bit of research. There is a ton of more things you can do right with Warcraft logs. This is just what I usually use it for, to kind of see what other players are doing. The first thing, if I have a bad parse on a fight, I like to go in and see, okay, well, what are they doing? When are they using certain cooldowns? How are they addressing certain areas? This is all just the start of it. Maybe you want to improve your positioning. There's so many different ways. But it all means you're going to be a little bit sweaty looking into this. It's all fun in the game. If you found this information to be helpful, do me a favor and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Maybe I missed something that is super important to becoming the ultimate sweat lord. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, and as always, happy adventures.
Stupid coyote.